Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abby.
That's me.
That's you.
And you. Ooh, we got a juicy one.
That's weird. That's just weird phrasing.
Well, I just think this is going to be a juicy episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because we're going to talk about...
That word juicy just sounds as bad as moist.
That's fair. There are a lot of words that are kind of like gross you out from the inside out. Does moist sick you out?
I know it just sicked out a bunch of listeners.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is going to be a juicy episode because we're going to kind of spill the tea, which I know you hate that phrase also. We're going to talk about in our relationships, because we have more than one, me and you.
Something I didn't know about you. Tell me more.
In our relationship, there is one area that we did really poorly for a long time. Yeah. And it created a lot of toxic patterns in our relationship. And when we learned how to change our habits in that area, we were able to build a much safer, more connected relationship. And so this episode is going to be us telling on ourselves all the things that we did wrong and why that was a crap storm for our partner.
Yeah. It's going to be, look, when you guys are listening to this, you're going to hear Abby tell a lot of situations where she really screwed up. And you'll hear maybe a couple from me. I don't want you to judge her. Please.
Oh, thank you.
It's beautiful. You can take ownership, though. Here's the deal. When it comes to pain is a terrifying thing for most people to talk about, like to process with other people in their lives. It's scary because we experience so much punishment so often around it. So, and punishment can look so different in so many different ways. I mean, it can look like just the withdrawal where someone suddenly shuts down. And as kids, oftentimes we're either not taught how to share our pain, or if we do share our pain, it's ignored, or someone pulls back, or someone gets more angry. And so there's this sense of, I'm going to experience a further repercussion for sharing my pain, but I still have it. And so we, across the board, humans will attempt to express their pain in ways that are destructive to let it out. So it's like we cannot hold our pain in. No matter what, that pain's going to come out. Our expression of it, wanting to let people know that we're having it. But we complicate the experience and we perpetuate further disconnection when we don't learn how to articulate our pain well. And so hopefully when we show you guys, begin with just showing the messes that we made, you can find yourself inside of that, and it can break some shame inside of your world where you're like, oh my God, I've totally done that.
Yes.
And hopefully between this and maybe a second episode we'll do around this, if we don't get it all in this, we'll kind of give pointers on what is helpful and what is healthy in how we do communicate our pain.
Yeah. I like to think about when I was a kid, there's two different ways that you learn. One of the ways that you learn is from what your parents teach you. So the actual words they share, the logic, the wisdom they give. And then there's the second form of learning, which is just watching their lives. And kids are absorbers. So they are actually impacted more by what they're experiencing. That's how they learn more. So if our parents say, share your feelings like this, but then when they're mad at their romantic partner, they share their feelings completely different. You are learning how they're doing it. Inside of your body, it's storing the memories. This is how we share pain. If your mom, when she has hurt feelings, nags your dad, you learn, I should nag when I have pain. If your mom, when she is stressed out, starts yelling at everybody in the house, your body learns, oh, yelling when we're stressed out is an appropriate way to deal with it. Now, you may logically not like that, but your body is learning a lot of behaviors and patterns that it takes time and intention to actually unlearn. So much of me as an adult has been like, I'm unlearning the things that got so hardwired into my nervous system as a little kid. And most of us didn't grow up in environments where we watched the adults around us when they were stressed, when they had fear, when they had anxiety, when they had hurt feelings, actually share those feelings in a healthy, inviting way, and then see people respond in a healthy, loving way back. And so we are hardwired with all of this fear of, I don't know how to do this. And then fear of people are not going to respond well. And a lot of times then you also have on top of that, as kids, when I was a kid, you don't know what you're feeling. Like your brain isn't fully formed as a kid. That's just fact. And so you have all these emotions going on in your body. And I like to think of that as like you're experiencing a lot of energy in your body, surging through your body in all different kinds of moments. And you don't know what to do with that. You don't know how to release that. And so I remember as a kid
throwing yourself on the floor.
Totally. Yes. Kicking, screaming, yelling, because it just felt like there was so much, like now if I look back, it's like panic energy that needs to get out. But if you don't have an adult that like can see beyond your behavior, help you recognize that you're having a surge of energy in your body, help you figure out a healthy way to discharge that energy, and then help you figure out a way to have words around what just happened, then you're going to grow up with just memories of when I feel feelings, things just get inside of me. And then you're in a relationship and there's no way to not have lots of feelings when you're letting somebody be close to you. And so then you're just like, I'm a mess inside. How do I tell you this? How do I show you what's going on inside of me? And I know that I have as much fear about myself and how I say it as I have fear on how you will receive it. Because when you have just like this ball of emotions on the inside and you haven't learned for most of your life how to give it as a nice, kind string to the other person. You know, I think of it like a ball of yarn all knotted up. But like if I could give it as a nice string to you that feels like calm and safe, that'd feel great for me. But that ball of yarn is like coming out like a ball of yarn at you. And so it feels really scary even just to be me and share my feelings. Then we have on top of that, how are you going to respond to them? And that is a wild, out of control experience until we learn how to feel our pain and communicate about it.
Yeah, it is pretty overwhelming to figure out what to do with all that energy. And I think that one of the things that I experienced early on in our marriage was that overwhelm of the energy, because I hadn't been given a space to express in any way, shape, or form. And I learned at an early age that nonverbal communication is the way to communicate about that pain, because the outbursts weren't allowed.
Right.
So they were inbursts.
Ah.
Outbursts became inbursts. So these inbursts happen, which created an overwhelm. And so one of the things that I was very well aware of is that my words aren't going to be acceptable inside of this space. But maybe if I take all of the energy and it's like you hold it all into a space, like maybe you ball up a big bunch of hatred. And you have this nonverbal communication of inside of yourself. You're stewing with dislike or hatred or malice or whatever it is.
Resentment, frustration,
bitterness.
Yeah.
And so that I would build emotions inside of myself because I knew that the outward expression wasn't going to land well. And the hope internally was, you should get it, right? Like, I'm shut down. I'm quiet. I'm pulling away. I'm not communicating right now. So obviously I have a problem with this situation. You should figure it out and change the way that you're behaving. And that wasn't just a relational experience that you and I had. It was one that I would have with other people. Right. And so, but the problem is that no one has any clue because nobody is a damn mind reader. They're just sitting there saying, I just know that there's energy from you. I don't know what it's about. It feels confusing right now. And I don't know how to course correct whatever problem you're having.
Right.
And again, for nonverbal communicators who are trying to express their pain, you're creating a circumstance where everyone is now meant to be a mind reader. And it's not only confusing for them, but it's painful for them because they're like, oh, I can't correct whatever problem we have if you're not using your words. So that for me, I saw that I brought that was an aspect that I brought into the relationship.
What would that look like?
Well, we talk a lot on here about my avoidance, that avoidance was some of how I would just shut down and go inward. But that was part of it. That was me saying, I have pain. I don't feel safe with you and the way that you're acting towards me. So when I didn't feel safe or I felt hurt, I'd go inward. And just, again, be quiet. And then I would be short in my responses. So do you want maybe you'd ask me something. Do you want a cup of tea? Nope, I'm good.
I just had 30,000 memories flash in front of my mind of you doing that. Nope, I'm good.
Yep.
Everything's fine.
Yep.
Got it.
Don't need anything. And there's also another aspect to that. It wasn't just I'm trying to tell you to F off and that I have a problem with you, but it was also saying, I don't know what to do with this pain because it's going to cause further problems. Again, that's one of those fears that everyone has is if I tell you about it, it's just going to get worse.
Right.
So I'm trying to bottle it up. And even sometimes it's, hey, see that I have pain and correct your behavior. Also, I just don't know anything else to do in this moment.
Oh, yeah. Because what did you learn in your childhood about expressing pain?
Well, I learned that when you're hurt in any way, shape, or form, that you're going to get it worse if you somehow convey that hurt. If you convey the problem that's experiencing, it's like you're going to get, there was a phrase like, there was a few different phrases that were pretty common in my household. One was, if you want something to cry about, I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
Right. And this is that's a phrasing that a lot of people from our generation grew up with. That happened. There was also, build me a bridge, cry me a river, and get over it. That was a very common phrase I heard a lot. And that was immediately dismissive. So, so I knew that the thing that's going on inside of me is going to be dismissed, right? Or it's going to be amplified, the experience.
Which feels powerless and so trapping.
Yeah. Well, I felt hopeless. That's one of the things that I think a lot of people who don't know how to convey their pain feel is hopeless. They feel hopeless to change their immediate circumstance, and they feel hopeless to better the relational exchanges that they're having with other people. So one of the things that happens in those environments is you start to experience learned helplessness. So those environments say there's nothing that you can do about this circumstance. You cannot actually change it or make it better. So you might as well just accept that this is the way it is.
Right.
So when I would go into nonverbal communication, there was a sense of learned helplessness that says, if I say anything, it's not going to matter.
Yep.
There's not really a lot of hope for this. But maybe if I, fume internally, you'll somehow subconsciously get it and you'll change your approach. That didn't work.
Yeah, I had no idea. Lots of cold stares, lots of walled off, frustration, lots of, I felt rejected a lot by your nonverbal communication, but no way to even know what was happening.
Yeah. And there was some vacillating behavior. So there was the nonverbal. And then there was a more aggressive approach of intense communication, even unto yelling or something like that. But what I watched,
even unto, huh?
Well, what I observed in my childhood was when you couldn't move the boulder through the silence, then you could crush the boulder with intensity.
Yeah.
Or aggression.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it wasn't just my childhood within my immediate family. Like it extended to I'd watch my grandfather and some of the guys at work.
Mm-hmm.
So there were guys that worked at my grandfather's electrical business.
Yep.
And I would see like the silent fuming between all these guys who were nonverbals. They're like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to be like, go get that for me. So I need you to get this thing. You can get out here. You know? And the grumblings and the gruntings, you were like, okay, this isn't working. And then all of a sudden you have somebody throw a flipping hammer across the room and then start yelling and being like, oh, I'm tired of you doing this. And so it was like, okay, if they're not getting it with the silent kind of like subtle hits of aggression, now you have to just go to like, knock it off. Don't you get what I'm doing here? Why won't you get this? And all of it was rooted in powerlessness.
Right. Like, I don't know how to express what's going on inside of me. So the only two ways I know is to swallow, swallow, swallow. And then once I've swallowed so much of this anxiety, frustration, anger, intensity, now I'm just throwing it up on everyone because I swallowed too much.
And this is something that both men and women do. This is across the board. It happens across the board, but it's very much more prevalent within masculinity. Due to the fact that oftentimes men have been taught, now we're evolving out of that, but a lot of men have been taught that vulnerable emotions like sadness,
hurt.
I feel hurt. I feel misunderstood by what you said. Shut up, pansy.
That's what you
misunderstand my middle finger in your face. You know, like we were conditioned that the vulnerable feelings weren't acceptable. 100%. So we're like, what are acceptable feelings? Dark humor and rage.
That's true.
Or silence. Silence is a good emotion. Use your silence. That will cut them deeply.
Totally.
But so there was this like, I don't know, what are the other emotions you want out of me? I'm pissed. That should solve this problem. Justin, what are you feeling? Pissed. And it sounds archaic when I talk about it now, like it's like only cavemen, you know.
Oh, it sounds common to me.
But it is a very common thing that's very much very real still. And so I had to, this is one of the most difficult hurdles, was learning to find even words.
Yeah.
Most of us don't have words, as I go back to the childhood problems we said earlier, don't have the words to articulate the pain. I remember when let me share this as well. There was a point when I was sitting down with a therapist and they were like, well, can you think of another word besides angry or frustrated? I was like, what other words do you mean? And they're like, here's a word wheel to any of these.
Sad, hurt,
these
confused,
emotion wheel that I've been
vulnerable.
Here's your emotion wheel, Justin.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's a lot of words to say pissed off. But the impact of that, to go back to, the impact of that was that I perpetuated a lot of further disconnection between the two of us and a sense of rejection for you, ultimately. Because it's like, I'm just feeling rejected by him. I'm not feeling like I know what he's actually needing, wanting, or experiencing.
Yeah.
So you didn't know the impact that was going on inside of me.
Yeah, I think it felt really hurtful a lot. Your silence felt really hurtful because it felt, the withdrawal of presence feels really lonely. It feels like rejection. And then a lot of times there was a denial that was happening. Just because we didn't know. You weren't trying to gaslight me, but when you would pull into yourself, I would no longer feel your warmth. I would no longer feel your connection, your love, your affection. So it would be like, I had a partner, now they're gone. I don't know what just happened. I don't know what just triggered that. I don't know why you're angry at me. I don't know what's happening. And then I would ask you and you'd be like, I'm fine. It's fine. Nothing's happening. And then it would feel like so confusing to me because I'm like, I'm a feeler, so I can feel that something has shifted in the connection that we have. You're telling me nothing has shifted. And so now and then when I tried to ask questions to try to understand what was going on, you felt like I was like intruding your boundaries.
Interrogating. The word is interrogation. I was being verbally waterboarded. Okay.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's what it felt like for you. And so it felt like this madness to me because I'm like, what just happened in this moment? And now I'm just wanting the words to be able to build a bridge because I don't know how to resolve something that I don't even understand what it is. And so you'd get more and more frustrated the more I would ask questions. And I had no concept for how to get to the other side.
Let me add to that. So while you were asking those questions, there's a couple different things that happened. One was the sense of, if I share about this, going back to it's going to get worse and escalate.
Yep.
It's not going to solve this problem.
Yep.
But the other portion was, I have to figure this out on my own, right? Because that learned helplessness, the external isn't going to solve itself. So I've just got to go internally and figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like, just deal with it, figure this out. You're just going to make this worse, Justin. So I'd be like, nothing, it's fine. Leave me alone, which was really, I don't want more pain in this experience. Let me go somehow chip away at myself and hopefully I'll solve something inside of me, or you'll get a clue.
Yeah. But now we can look back and see that your energy, so you felt pain. You didn't know what to do with it. I don't know if I'm allowed to have a voice about it. I need to go figure it out on my own. All of that is built. Now, every time I ask you a question, the energy is multiplying inside of you and getting bigger and bigger until eventually you're like, leave me alone. And you like storm off. And then I'm like, well, I see clearly there is something going on inside of you.
Well, now there is. What's interesting is that I had varying degrees of emotions. So initially, maybe my silence was like, I just need to look at some, like I'm feeling a little off. It's like maybe a 3. But then the more questions I asked, that my anxiety rose.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, she's trying to drag this into something bigger than it actually is. And I don't want to have to feel more pain or more problems. I don't want to feel that difficulty from her pulling it into something. So then I'm getting on edge with my anxiety continues to build. Oh, no. Now I'm at an 8. I'm like, leave me alone.
Yeah. Guess what we just did?
What did we just do, Abby?
We created the connection cure. And I think this is the thing that I'm most excited that we've ever created for people, because it is all of the years of courses that we've made, making it available in one monthly healing membership where you get to be connected to people who are going on the same journey as you while getting access to all of the things that we have made: Relationship Glue, Reclaiming You, the Compassion Project,
the Father Series, Living Fully Alive, the Regulation Library.
Yes, we have so many things that we've created over the years. We've had over 10,000 people do our courses. We've met with over 4,000 individual clients. And now we have brought all of it together so that you could have access to all of it for less than one counseling session a month.
Yep. And what's really cool is that monthly we have live connection calls where people get together and have those connection moments, talk about what they're going through, how they're healing in their process. And that's been one of the number one things that people have said is so incredible about doing our courses is the community that they create and the healing that takes place inside of that community. I mean, we've had people find their spouses,
find their best friends, find their community, because finally there's people where they realize I'm not alone and I'm allowed to be loved right now in the messiness of my life before everything is fixed, before everything is perfect. You can belong before you have transformed. You can be loved before you're fixed in this community. And it is really rich and beautiful and healing. We're meant to heal with each other. And the whole point of why we made this is so that people could have a holistic healing pathway. We do so much with connecting to your body and actually learning how to move with your body through emotions so that things don't get buried alive in your body. the body keeps the score. We want to zero that score out. And then we have heart connection stuff where you're actually feeling empathy for yourself and others, where you're actually connecting to your own story and you're actually having time to not just learn logically about why you do what you do, but actually have new feelings towards yourself. And then we have all of the logic, the neuroscience, all of the reasons why your body and your brain do what they do so you can actually understand yourself for the first time and start to have kindness towards why your body is made to react the way it is so that you can heal. It's body, heart, and mind all together in a way that is really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool membership because you get to stay as long as you want or as short as you want inside of it. You're not trapped inside of it, but you have access to an incredible community and great information. And so that is coming soon. You can go to Justin and Abby, that's abi.com, and you can get on our mailing list there, and we'll let you be the first to know when we release that. But this is something we've been planning for a while now, and I'm glad we're getting to do it.
It's about to come out. Yeah, a lot of that nonverbal communication and then walled off stonewalling escalated things. And the irony is you were so afraid of things escalating that you escalated them.
Yeah.
Like you were so afraid if I share my pain or if I process this right now, it's going to make it into a huge problem. And instead withholding it and trying to swallow it and trying to like sit there and endure ended up building it until it was the huge problem that you were scared it was going to be in the first place.
One of the things that I think I observed, and I know that a lot of people experience in relationships, is that the moment that you begin to share and articulate your pain, that pain or that emotion or that hurt, that information is suddenly taken and weaponized against you or seemingly weaponized, right?
Yeah.
So it's the sense of, oh, you feel this about me? Oh, you think this is a problem? And so it's not just it's being dismissed, but now, it's like, you've said that before to me. I know you don't like that, or I know you feel that way. So it also becomes like a sword that's used to cut you. And so I know a lot of people are like, the minute I say this, it's going to be put into this special bank account inside of this person's head, and they're going to use it in other fights. So I better not give them ammunition whatsoever.
So again, all of that is if you think about constriction is a very uncomfortable feeling for any of us. If you think about like kind of being wrapped up in a straitjacket, that's what constriction feels like. And the more we feel trapped and constricted, the more anxiety that we have.
Yeah.
If you think about being in a straitjacket and trying to get out, the longer you try to get out and you can't, the more panic is going to set in. And so you're discussing having constriction in your emotions and in your body, because the emotions are energy happening inside your body. And you're feeling like if I share, it's going to be weaponized or it's going to be dismissed or I'm going to get punished. So I can't share at all costs. And when you do that, when you can't share at all costs, then that means I have to keep it bottled in. And when you're bottling it in, you're not thinking through, how do I deliver this well? How do I communicate this in a way that she can hear it? How can I stay soft? How can I stay connected to her through it? You're actually not thinking of me at all. You're thinking of, how do I contain this intense energy?
Right. And that hits a place of fear inside of us, right? Like the more that the anxiety or the fear is escalating, it turns off our brain.
Yeah.
Right. It turns off our ability to function in a place of wisdom and clarity. And so, like you said, you're not thinking about the other individual inside of it. You're now in survival mode inside of these situations.
And I'm glad that you pointed it out, because it's not because you're selfish or self-absorbed. Correct. It's literally because the blood flow has gone to your emotion reaction, protect yourself, survive center. It's no longer in your logic, executive function brain. And so I think that this was a really good explanation of a lot of what things were like. What is it that helped you start to overcome some of these fears? The fear of being dismissed, the fear of it escalating, the fear of it being weaponized against you.
I mean, that's a pretty broad question. I mean, there's so many aspects of learning how to just be in therapy and talk about feelings inside of that. But I think one of the things between us was being able to admit that I had fear.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that we had to get down to, of like, I'm actually really scared of having conversations about my pain. I'm scared of, outside of a moment
Mm-hmm.
of intensity, outside of a disconnect,
Mm-hmm.
inside a connection, is the vulnerable expression of being able to share. It feels scary. I don't know how to do this. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. And I need some help when it comes to sharing my pain. And being able to articulate, like, if you want to know more about my pain, I need,
or what's going on inside,
I need there to be grace and kindness from you when I start telling you, hey, I'm going to share, and this feels vulnerable. And I'm going to tell you about some of my fears that I have. Like, so setting a standard in knowing that you were going to go, like, cue in, like you would begin to cue in those moments and say, okay, he's being vulnerable right now. And I could feel oftentimes compassion.
Yeah.
And empathy. Sometimes not so much, because there were some emotions around anxiety when I'd share that anxiety. And that was one of our hills that we had to climb.
I think one of the things, it wasn't just that you had the conversation with me outside of a triggered moment, which that's the thing that most couples never try, is sharing about their pain when things are good, and they're not triggered. Typically, we shove all of our frustrations or our feelings or our hurt or our sadness down until we get into a fight, and then we vomit it all out in that moment.
Yeah.
And now we have a huge backlog of things to vomit out instead of being able to share it in little snippets. I think about it like little sips of my feelings are much more doable than me waterboarding you with them.
Yeah.
And when I share my feelings only once we're in a fight or triggered, it's like waterboarding you with my feelings. And then my feelings feel so unsafe. And then you don't want to have sips of my feelings later on. But if we can create a scenario where I'm just regularly giving you a little bit of what's going on inside of me that is not attacking you or shutting you down, then it can feel easier to learn to accept that.
Yeah, that's good. Why don't you talk about how you failed in this relationship?
Wait, I had one more thing to say about what we were talking about. That got me off track for a second. I will talk about me in a second. But what I wanted to say is one of the things that you do that is really helpful for me is you'll wave like a flag to let me know I'm about to share something that matters to me that I feel vulnerable about. Because I don't cue in all the time that this is vulnerable, because different things are vulnerable to me than what is vulnerable to you. So I've been sharing my feelings with my girlfriends forever. So like just saying like, oh, it was sad when this thing happened today at work. Like that's like so normal to me. If you say it, I may not cue in that that's vulnerable and you're sharing something that really matters. And so I might just give an off the cuff response that's like, oh, well, did you blah, 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 like just like a comment. And so what you've started doing that has dramatically impacted us is when you're going to share something that is vulnerable, you're like, hey, this is vulnerable for me to share. I just want to let you know, I know that you've said you want to know my internal world and what's going on inside of me. And I want to share some of that, but it's vulnerable to share right now. And when you say that, it cues into my brain, switch into the compassion, empathy side, pay attention to what he's saying and purposefully be soft and try to react less. When I don't have that flag, my brain is just reacting without the intentionality of protecting your heart around it. And so I was hurting you all the time without even knowing that I was hurting you or knowing how much it hurts. Because when we're vulnerable, we're opening up, we're letting down our guards. So when you would share something vulnerable, if I didn't know and I responded poorly, it would hurt you so much more than if it wasn't vulnerable.
Yeah. One of the biggest hurdles to people sharing that they're having a vulnerable experience or they're about to give a vulnerable share is actually people's lack of self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're not aware that something is vulnerable for us, we can't communicate that awareness. And so for me, it was vital that I started to be self-aware of like, what is actually vulnerable to me? Is this vulnerable in this moment for me to share this information?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times stuff would just come out and then you wouldn't respond well. And then I'd be so hurt over it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look back and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that was vulnerable until I'm like, oh my gosh, Abby, I'm trying to be so vulnerable and you're just like running over me on this or whatever it was that you were doing, right? And so for me, the process of getting to that self-awareness was a little difficult, but I was able to do it. I went from not having a lot of self-awareness to having an immense amount of it as I progressively got out of my denial.
Yeah.
And I'll say I'll say this as well. For people who aren't capable of it being self-aware, oftentimes the barrier that we have is denial.
Mm-hmm.
It's this sense that we've spent years telling ourselves, it's not that big of a deal. There's not a problem here. I'm not that sad. And so I had to go inwardly and begin to assess, where have I been denying my feelings? Because I'll only have an awareness of them when I stop denying them.
Well, and this is some of the best advice that we got in therapy. I think both of us, which is neither of us paid attention to our emotions until they were really big. And when we paid attention to them when they were really big is often when we were having meltdowns or frustrations. Yeah, it was too late. Too late to apologize. And so I think, and this is a great segue into a lot of what I contributed in our marriage, was I didn't know how to have connected conversations with you around what was going on inside of me. I didn't know what was going on inside of me. I had no idea. Like I said, it's like bombs were going off inside of me all of the time. And I remember one of the most common feelings I had was like, help me. like inside, I was like dying for I was like, I feel crazy on the inside and there's so much happening and I don't know what I'm doing. And there's feelings everywhere and I don't even know what they're about. And I was like, please come help me. And now I can look back and be like, that was my little girl who had really big feelings as a kid and needed someone to help her learn to name what the feelings were and learn what to do with the energy of them and how to actually sort through them. And that's why I've loved learning about my nervous system and body, because now I'm like, a lot of my emotions, I need to move the energy of the emotion. And then that helps me be able to logically understand what's going on, and then I can communicate it to you. But because I didn't know myself, and this is a huge part of me not knowing how to communicate well with you, was I didn't understand what was happening inside of me. And so I couldn't lay out a roadmap for you of this is what's going on inside of me and this is what I need. Can you meet me here? I was like verbally throwing up all of the time, just emotions everywhere. It's kind of like getting a paint gun and just spraying the whole room. And then I was trying to figure out like which one of those emotions sticks and which one feels real. I was a verbal processor. And so I was just like, it's like I had a feeling and I had no idea what the feeling was. Instead of saying, I'm having a feeling and I don't know what this feeling is, I would just say, this is wrong and this is wrong and you did this and I don't know if our lives are going anywhere. And I would just come up with every problem that we could be having. And now I'm venting everything. And you felt totally annihilated and shocked. And you felt, honestly, you probably felt the same way I felt in that moment, which was like, I don't know what to do with all this.
Yeah, it was a verbal assault for sure.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what to do with all this. And I was secretly hoping that you would be able to help organize. Let's put yellow over here and blue over here and pink over here. And this is how we color inside the lines. And I was secretly hoping that you would help me know what my emotions were and then help me articulate them. And that you would be able to do all of that without having hurt feelings about how I threw them up.
Yeah. And when I couldn't solve those for you, those emotions then got turned more at me.
Yeah.
So
because I felt like you were purposefully hurting me, like you didn't care.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I need help and you're refusing to help me. That's cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt like you're rejecting me in this moment. Now I'm mad at you for because you would self-protect.
Right.
When all my emotions are everywhere, you would self-protect from my emotions, but I would feel that withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you weren't trying to withdraw from me.
Yeah.
You were trying to be present.
Yeah.
But I felt that withdrawal and then I felt so hurt. And then I turned all of those emotions on you. And I was like, you are destroying me. Why don't you care? And if I'm honest, I think I thought I was being vulnerable. When I was sharing all my feelings, it was vulnerable to say all of those. And then you weren't kind or responsive or compassionate. And so then I just felt like, you don't care. You're seeing me. I'm sharing the deepest pain inside of my heart and you don't care. And that felt so cold to me.
Yeah, it was interesting because it felt like you brought a shotgun out and blasted me in the face. And it was like, why aren't you responding well to this?
Totally. Yeah.
Fix me. And every time I was like reaching out to try to help, you're like, took another shot at like my hand. And I was like, oh, why is this hurting so much? So it was a very confusing thing. But this is what happens is when people don't know how to share their pain well, what they end up doing is that they go into blame and accusation and even attack mode. And they end up turning on the people that they're trying to share their pain with because they don't know how to articulate well. And the fallout is that other people don't feel safe to be on the receiving end of helping us with their emotions or listening or being present.
And then you get in this cycle, right? Where you're like, my partner doesn't care about my pain.
Right.
So then you feel a lot of pain from that. And then it builds, but you don't want to share because you're like, they're not going to care until it gets to a level 10 inside of you. Then you share because it's just has to come out, not even because you want it to. And then they don't respond well to that. And so it confirms the cycle. Oh, I can't share my real feelings here because they're not going to respond. Oh, I'm not going to be heard here. And so then you shove your feelings down again. And then you just keep going round and round. Shove down, explode, shove down, get frustrated, shove down, make it a big deal. And that whole concept can create a cycle where both partners keep feeling more and more unsafe. Like you felt more and more like there's not a win for me.
Oh yeah.
And I felt more and more like you just don't care about me. You don't care that I'm hurt.
Which is interesting because when you get down to it, all I did was care that you were hurt. Like everything in me was trying to find resolution for whatever was going on inside of this experience. But then it landed in the you don't care camp.
Which then felt maddening for you because you're like, right. I'm doing everything I can and it's not enough.
It's not enough. I'm never going to win this situation, no matter how hard I try.
Yeah. And there's and this is why communication, gosh, it's such a dance. Like when I'm talking through it, I'm like, we both brought in so many of our own definitions of what communicating through your hurts or the vulnerable feelings you're experiencing were from our childhoods. We both brought in this energy of our emotions without knowing what to do with the energy. Like we didn't know, what do we do with this? And so oftentimes the way we tried to handle the energy of our emotions ended up becoming unsafe for the other partner. And then you have like both of us trying to get out of our cycle and trying to get to each other, but it not working. And when I've worked with a lot of clients, oftentimes one of them will feel like the other person just doesn't care. Like that's how I felt about a lot of things with you. You just don't care. That's why you're silent. That's why you're withdrawing. That's why you can't communicate anything back. When I share my feelings and you just have nothing to say about them, it must be because you just don't care. And now I've seen, not only in our own story, but with so many others, that oftentimes both people are really trying, but the way that they're trying is hard to understand.
Well, one of the things that you made mention of there is a giant assumption, right? And we go into judgment and assumptions, both when we have hurt or pain towards someone, and both when we're on the other side of someone in those scenarios.
Yeah.
And we make up all these conclusions inside of our head. And I think that was one of the most detrimental things
Oh
that
my
we did
gosh.
inside of our relationship
Yes.
is that we would create these assumptions and judgments about
Mhm.
one another, and we'd hold tight to them.
Yes. And everything you did proved my assumptions. He just doesn't care. He's just disconnected. He doesn't pay attention to me. All of the things that I felt. And what were some of your judgments?
That
She's crazy.
she wants to destroy me.
Was that a judgment?
No, I'm joking a little bit, but I felt like you wanted to destroy me. You wanted to break me down. But I think that was an unconscious thing. It wasn't
Totally.
mostly a conscious one. I did have a judgment that you were just crazy.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a very common man judgment towards the women in their lives, is that they're just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there was such an out of control way that you expressed emotions. Not that I didn't have it, but the way that they got shotgun blasted, I was like, I'm not seeing logic or reason in the way that it's being communicated. So it's just, this person's out of their mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very common theme that I hear in marriages. I know that Johnny felt that towards Pizzi. I know I can name all of the couples I know, and almost all of the men have had that judgment towards the wife that they have in the beginning, at least. And sometimes it takes 10, 15 years to be able to look at that judgment. She's just crazy. And then what ends up happening is, because of that judgment, you learn to tune out of the emotions that she's sharing. You learn to not pay attention because you're like, this is just the crazy bucket. I can't pay attention to it or it'll obliterate me. It'll feel too overwhelming. It'll feel like chaos to me. So they start to dismiss and not pay that much attention to. And then the women feel that. They feel like, you're not seeing what I'm saying. You're not listening. You're not validating that there's real pain here. They feel so dismissed that their emotions get bigger and more frustrated and more angry because they're like, you're not actually listening to me. And that judgment can create a bunch of chaos for both people.
I think one of the experiences that a lot of guys have is that when women attempt to articulate their emotions, they don't actually know what's going on. Like you shared, like I wasn't actually vulnerable. I didn't know what was going on inside of me.
Yeah.
So there's this idea that a lot of women have that they think, oh, we're emotional creatures. Like we know how to be emotional and men don't. I'm like, you know how to emotionally, what is the word? Like it was ventilation, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't actually connected to yourself.
I was not connected to myself.
Right?
I was not connected to my vulnerable feelings. I was not connected to my feelings and logic.
Right. So just because you were articulating a bunch of different emotional experiences didn't mean you were emotionally intelligent. Right?
Well, I will say I'm very emotionally intelligent.
You are.
When I communicated my feelings, I'm just going to get sciencey for a minute.
Yeah.
I would be in my survival brain communicating my feelings, which turns off all my logic.
Right.
I wasn't sharing my feelings when my prefrontal cortex was still online. And so I was only sharing my feelings when my logic was gone. And so I have a lot of logic. I'm really emotionally intelligent.
Yes.
I have a lot of ways that governs my life well, but you weren't experiencing that.
Correct.
Because I was in so much self-protection around you in trying to share my feelings that it probably did feel a little unhinged. It probably did feel like you're not connected to yourself. It probably felt like my little kid was screaming and yelling and throwing temper tantrums and you didn't know what to do to help her.
And I think that if I had better communication back then, I would have said like, hey, I can tell by the outburst that there's strong emotions internally. But right now, like you're not articulating vulnerably what's actually going on inside of you, your experience. I want to figure out how to be with you inside of that, but I need you to try and remove the blame out of this and maybe get a little bit more clear on what you're actually trying to articulate. And I want to try and help you on that.
Yeah. Because if you could, the idea of like, I want to be near you. I don't want to run away
Right.
from you in your pain. Because I
Right.
think that's the biggest fear that everyone has, is that they're going to share their pain and somebody's going to leave them in their pain.
Correct.
That feels devastating to the human soul. And so if you're like, I want to be with you in this pain, but I'm having a hard time understanding the pain or connecting to what's going on inside of you, I believe there is something real happening inside of you.
Right.
I'm having a hard time knowing what it is. And so I want to be able to be with you. Is there a different way we can communicate about this?
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways.
Yeah, that is a big way that I created chaos in our relationship. But I do want to say we're talking about judgments and assumptions. And I feel like one of the judgments I had towards you was the same thing. You're crazy. But I made that judgment towards my mom as a kid. I was like, she's just crazy. I thought my dad was crazy. I thought everybody was crazy. Like whenever there was just like a bucket in my head, just like
crazy bucket.
And there was a lot of places that I judged you as not being loving, because a lot of your self-protection mechanisms were walled off. You're an avoidant, so you wanted to be alone to feel your pain. You didn't know how to go to comfort. You didn't there's a lot of things where there's disconnection was safer than connection for you. And so I think I judged your intentions a lot by that concept of just like, oh, this is my assumption of you. So then, and while it was true that you had a lot of avoidant behavior, the assumption is about your intentions.
Right.
The assumption I had was, I know your intentions. You don't care about me. You don't care how you affect me. You don't care about connection. You don't care about emotional intimacy. Like those judgments are what I made from your behavior. So the behavior was, my nervous system is noticing you're pulling away, you're feeling shut down, you're feeling disconnected. So my brain is creating a story to go with that. And the story I'm making is that you just don't care. And then what happens is now my brain looks for any evidence in our relationship that you just don't care.
Right.
And that starts to create chaos.
Yeah. And once the accusation, once the assumption was established, then an accusation came forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It became blame and accusation.
Whether I said it or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's either all of your actions are based in this accusation and this blame inside of you. So now everything that you're saying, even if you're not saying it out loud, you're taking actions based on, he doesn't love me. He doesn't care about me. This is his heart posture. Now I'm going to respond from that position. Or there was language that would come out of you that was accusational in nature. And at that point, then there's no way for it, because then I'm just like, I'm defending. Now she's accusing me. All I'm doing is trying to love her. And all she thinks is that I don't love her. And so you'd keep in that cycle. And I know I've seen a lot of couples get lost in this cycle. Once we get caught up in the assumption that has now turned into an accusation inside of their head, it's almost impossible to resolve until people start acknowledging, yes, I'm holding a judgment against you inside of myself, and I am holding unforgiveness based on that judgment, and I need to correct that inside of me.
Yes. I love that you're bringing this up. I was thinking when you're talking about this, about how much you judged me for like being lazy or incompetent or not caring or not wanting to partner when we got married, and how hard that was and how hard it was to break out of that. Thankfully, you've totally broken out of that. And the way that, for me, part of how it got broken out of was a lot of diagnoses. You're like, oh, you're built differently and you're trying really hard. But curiosity is a thing that has really, so I think this episode will be like the foundation episode. And then the next episode we'll go into is all like the specific ways that we've learned how to communicate our pain healthily.
Yeah.
But one of the ways that we've learned how to communicate around vulnerable information is with a lot more curiosity, a lot more trying to understand, because we're aware that we all make up assumptions. We all see people's behavior and then we make up what are their intentions. And so we have consciously learned I have to stop making up what your intentions are because I don't know. And one of the best ways I learned this is having friends that would ask me my intentions. And I would be so flabbergasted, like shocked, confused when they would say like, did you mean to be aggressive here? Or did you mean to sound critical here? Or did you mean, but, and I would always be like, no, what? Or like, are you angry? Do you hate the world today? I'd be like, no, I had a headache. They'd be like, were you so frustrated at me in that thing? I was like, no, I was deep in thought about what we were talking about. And so I started recognizing that our nervous system is looking for so many cues. So our eyes are looking for any micro expression that could change to alert us of threat. And as soon as we notice something or our feelings are noticing any energy change. So like if you get a little bit more internal or you get a little bit more shut down or tired or you get a little bit more passionate, all of those things can go into our brain and say, there's a threat happening. There's a threat happening. And then we make up what they must be feeling. Thank God I had so many people misunderstand me because what it did is it implemented in my brain, you can never tell what somebody's intentions are, no matter how good you are at reading people. And this is what I say all the time. I might be great at reading that something just happened. You had a thought or you had a feeling or some kind of trigger just happened, but I can never tell what it is because it could be that you got excited about something. It could be that you thought about something from yesterday that is stressing you out. It could be that something I said stressed you out, but we as humans... You could be
having a body reaction.
Yeah, you could be having a headache.
Yeah.
If I think I know for sure what your intentions are, then I'm going to create a made up world that is very threatening for me. And it's going to become threatening for you because there's no way for you to get out of my assumptions. And so a lot of times what we've learned is that curiosity builds the bridge. And so now a lot of times if I'm sharing vulnerably and I see a facial response from you in the past, I'd be like, you don't care. You're not listening. I went right to my judgments that I'd made of you. And now what I do to create safer communication is, hey, I noticed your eyes were darting around the room. Tell me what was going on inside of you in that moment. And you'll be like, oh, I was thinking about, I want to make sure that we have enough time for this conversation. And I know that dinner's coming up soon and I want you to be able to eat so your blood sugar doesn't crash. You'll say something like that and it'll be like, oh, okay. Because in my mind, I just made up you don't care and you're trying to get away from me as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to actually begin to address these assumptions and judgments that we hold radically changes the way that we experience relationships
Mm-hmm.
and the space that we're able to create for people to actually share about their feelings. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's really good. I know we're pretty close. We got to wrap this
Mm-hmm.
up pretty quick here. Do you have more?
Well, I was just going to say, so the first thing that we would say on how to communicate your pain is to come with curiosity. And we'll talk more about that more in the next session where we'll talk through, we've kind of laid a groundwork of the pain that we've had in this, but we'll talk through healthy ways to communicate pain and a few more of the problems that we had. But one of them being, I now, when I have pain, come to you with curiosity. So instead of deciding that I know why you did the thing that hurt me, instead of judging that I'm accurate about it, I actually come with, hey, when you walked off in the middle of that conversation, that hurt my feelings. Can you help me understand what was going on for you? And because we've created a relationship where you feel safe to share what is going on in your internal world, it often is better than what I thought was happening.
Yeah, that's really good. One of the things that I want people to do that have been listening, I want you to take time and ask yourself as you've listened to our story, where do I see myself in their shoes?
Mm-hmm.
Have I been someone that, do I actually even know how to communicate my pain well? What does that look like? And in this next episode that we do, we're going to talk about that communication. We're going to highlight what that looks like. If you notice, like, it hasn't been working well for me,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm never getting to resolve when I'm communicating my pain, that might be because you're not communicating it well. You don't know how to do it. And that's okay. Again, you're not bad for that. We've had to learn ourselves. We're still learning. We're still growing inside of it. But at least being able to look at your own story and say, where do I fit inside of this in some of the ways I behave? Because that sense of being able to acknowledge how, like us sharing some of the roles that we've played in not communicating our pain well, is an act of humility.
Yes.
And wherever we act out in a place of humility is where we actually have the most potential for growth.
Yeah.
To say, I don't know, but I do want to learn in this.
Yes.
And it is not only possible, it's very reasonable that if you'll get yourself in a posture of humility on this, that there's going to be a dramatic change in the way that you communicate pain moving forward from this conversation.
Yeah, because we can unlearn everything that we learned through our trauma.
Yep.
Everything that we learned through hard relationships. We can actually learn new skills. It might take some time and intentionality. And that's why we have all the courses that we have, Reclaiming You, the Compassion Project, Relationship Glue, because I'm like, I needed somebody to step by step teach me how to do a lot of this stuff. I needed somebody to give me the education I didn't learn as a kid.
Yeah. And if you want to do a deep dive in growing and healing in these places, we have something called the Connection Cure that should be out on our website now. If it's not, it will be out. And if it's not out, you can also get on Justin and Abby, that's abi.com. And you can go ahead and sign up to our email list there at minimum, or you can find it there. And that gives you access to all of these courses.
Gives you access to every single program we've done and our regulation library, which is guided regulation activities. It helps you learn about your nervous system, learn how to communicate in your relationships, learn what your needs are. And we're always creating new stuff, but it's less than the price of a therapy session.
Yeah.
We're making it
monthly. Yep.
We're making it cheap for the masses.
Yep. So with that said, be sure to tune in next week as we go do a deep dive on how we've learned how to communicate our pain in a way that is very successful for our relationship and has brought about so much more safety and connection.
You know what is amazing to me?
What?
We communicated through so much of our...
My beautiful bald head.
Yes.
Yeah, you know.
But also we communicated through a lot of our pain cycles in this conversation. I didn't get triggered once.
I didn't either.
And that feels like we've really come a far way where we can be honest and own it.
Yeah.
And not be angry about what it was.
Dialogues like this can be really rough.
Cheers to us.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
A little bit of that.
Follow us on YouTube's. Hit the subscribe
on
button.
YouTube's. On the old YouTubes. Go over there. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify and what else is it?
All Apple Podcasts.
All of them. You can find them. Rate, review, subscribe, and share. Hit the bell button on YouTube. There you go. You've been given your mission. Go away. Bye now.